Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Let's take a break with Stephen Shamus.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining our little world here. Alex, this is our fifth show.
Yep. Big 5.
Welcome back. We made it. They haven't kicked us off yet. They haven't taken away our microphones yet. So we must be doing something right.
True.
So we got a great show today. Alex, what are we talking about first?
Let's talk SpiderVerse and all of our favorite Spider men and women and Spider people.
I have to tell you, that was one of my favorite films. I was blown away. You know, I don't want to say I didn't have high expectations for the film. I thought it was going to be a pretty good movie. I was blown away by just everything. Yeah. The voicing, the acting, the storyline, just everything about it was pretty incredible. And I think it took a lot of people by surprise. And I think you've seen a soaring in values of all the characters in the films. And obviously with the sequel plan for 2022, I think you're going to see a continued steady increase in all those characters.
Yeah.
What makes you different is what makes you Spider-Man.
So, Alex, let's start out with Miles Morales, who's the main character, obviously.
Yes.
Voiced by Shameik Moore. Did an unbelievable job.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the different variations and the different versions, because there's a lot of different books. There's a lot to choose from. And it's difficult to kind of decipher what's what and what's where and what looks better and what has a smaller print runs. So let's break it down book by book.
Yeah.
All right?
Let's go.
So first appearance was Ultimate Fallout #4 from 2011. So at the time, it was big news. If you remember at the time, Marvel issued a press release. There's a new Spider-Man. There's a new Ultimate Spider-Man. So the book wasn't exactly like not ordered a lot. I mean, were you working in Midtown at the time?
Yeah, I was at Midtown. It was not only was that the Ultimate stuff still very popular, but when the news got a hold of it, I mean, when Marvel releases saying, "Hey, Peter Parker's dying and we're bringing a new character, Miles Morales," the average comic book reader knows exactly what that meant. Oh, the Ultimate Peter Parker's dying. But the non-average comic book reader had no idea. So people went crazy. It was Death of Superman all over again. People were coming to the stores. I need the death of Spider-Man. I need the death of Spider-Man. You know, but it was the Ultimate Universe stuff. Very popular.
Right. So, Mark Bagley did the cover.
Yep.
It's not exactly a rare book in the 9.8s. But that book today in first print, Alex, is selling for $700 in a 9.8. That's unbelievable. By the way, there are 1,707 Blue Label 9.8s right now.
That's a lot of books.
1,700.
Yes, that's a lot of books.
And 139 yellow labels signed by probably in most cases either Stan Lee or Mark Bagley. I would assume most of those copies.
A lot of Bendis's, a lot of Sarah Pacelli's. Yeah.
That book was half that price a year ago.
Yeah.
That book continues to. So you have the Bagley regular cover.
Yep.
Okay. Then you have the Marko Djurjevic 1 in 25 variant cover.
Mm-hmm.
You know what those are selling for?
Not cheap.
Hold on to your seat, Alex. $3,500 to $4,000 consistently. There are 124 Blue Labels, 9.8s. There are 18 yellow label 9.8 signature series. 18, which means that I don't know who signed those because we don't have all the detail breakdown.
Yeah.
But that's an extra, at this point, Alex, at $3,500, I don't know that I would even touch the book. I don't know that there's going to be too many more signature series at this point.
Again, it's a variant. So right out of the box, they were board and bagged and put up on the wall. All stores that had those variants put them up. So there's might be some raws out there. If you can grab it, a raw and get it submitted, you might be able to grade out.
I don't know.
That's a very hard book.
I don't know. Look, I think even if you had that book and it didn't pass 9.8 and it was going to be a 9.6 or 9.4, I think at that price level, I think you have to send it in, get it graded, and maybe pressed. Maybe you can get another grade or two out of a pressing.
Yeah.
So that's version number 2. Then version number 3 is they made a second print.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because I actually think both second print covers are aesthetically nicer than the first print covers.
Yeah, first print was like a mystery. Oh, who's under the spider hood?
Right.
Yeah.
So in the second print on the Bagley cover, if you remember, they took Miles Morales' head and they moved him in front of the logo, which aesthetically is actually more pleasing.
Yeah.
So there are 206 of those in 9.8 Blue Label and 28 of those in 9.8 Yellow Label.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of them out there. Still, it's not a low pop, but it's not a high pop. And those books sell between $350 to $400. So there's 1,700 of the first prints, 200 or so of the second prints.
Yeah.
9 times as many, and the first print is double, which we understand it's the first print. But I've always thought that cover was more aesthetically pleasing. Then the last of the covers was the Sarah Pichelli variant cover, which I think of all the 4 covers is the best one because you have the Miles Morales headshot.
Yeah.
And that one, there's only 89 Blue Label 9.8s and only 2 Yellow Label 9.8s. And those books are $350 to $400.
Wow.
For me personally, I prefer, look, I'm not spending $3,500 on the 1 in 25. If you have it and you like it, God bless.
Yeah.
For me, I'm choosing the Sarah Pichelli version. We were actually supposed to have Shamik at our Boston show.
Yeah.
The way to have that white background with his headshot, that would have been a perfect book to have Shamik sign and create a really nice Yellow Label for yourself. Hopefully one day we'll be able to get Shamik back again.
Yep.
But that book is also $350 to $400. So, what do you think about the different versions of it? Do you think I'm crazy? Do you think I'm right? What do you think?
No, 100%. I mean, granted, the first print is going to, there's so many out there, and I'm sure there's going to be more once this, once those prices continue driving higher, you're going to see a lot more of those books hit the market. Variant covers with the white backgrounds. Why wouldn't you get those signed and then have Sarah Pichelli or Mark Bagley do a head sketch on them? You put a head sketch from Mark Bagley or Sarah Pichelli on one of those white covers, and you CGC it with a Yellow Label, and it comes 9.8. Wow, that's it. Alex,
that's your goal. When we get Shamik to the next show, I agree with you. Let's bring Sarah or Mark. My gosh,
100%.
Okay,
and Mark's been to some shows, so that should be pretty easy.
That's right. Mark was at our Arizona event.
That's it.
That's right. That's great. All right, let's talk about the next character down the list, SpiderMan Noir.
My name is Peter Parker.
Yep.
Who was drawn by an old friend, Dennis Calero.
Yeah.
Dennis worked with us very early on in his career. He was a graphic designer for our magazine.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Back in the day, yes. him and his wife at the time, Kristen, were both worked for us at the time. And they were amazing graphic designers. They were way ahead of their time. They were the first digital colorists, if I recall correctly, back in the day.
Yeah.
They were the first ones to digitally ink and digitally color way back in the day. It was very much ahead of their time. Dennis is a phenomenal artist. And he was a staple at our events, back then. And the Spider-Man Noir character really took off. Obviously, he was voiced by Nicolas Cage, right? So that gave it a little bit of oomph there.
Yeah.
So the first appearance is in Spider-Man Noir,
written by Fabrice Sapolsky, who's one of the writers who comes to a few of our shows. Fabrice is a friend of the show.
That's a fun fact, Alex.
Yeah.
Fun fact. I like it. I like when you contribute some fun facts.
I can do it sometimes.
That book came out in 2009. The black chips very, very easily. We all know that.
Yes.
Right? Very tough. So the book has a pretty low pop, and I actually think for the value that you're talking about right now, it's very, very good. The Dennis Calero cover, 188 Blue Label 9.8s, only 1 Yellow Label 9.8. That book's about $250 today. Not bad.
Yeah, no,
not bad for that book. And then the Patrick Zurcher variant cover, there are 110 Blue Label 9.8s and 3 Yellow Label 9.8s. Interestingly enough, that book sells for lower. That book sells for $150. I think that Dennis Calero, because Dennis specialized in the noir look, he did a bunch of noir stuff back then. He sort of became as the noir artist.
Correct.
And I think that's why people are looking for the Dennis Calero cover. His look and feel of the character is sort of embodies what you saw in the film. Great. So now let's talk about the next character that we have is Spider-Ham.
My name is Peter Parker.
John Mulaney.
Who saw that one coming? Alex, who saw that one coming?
He stole the show. He stole the movie. 100%. It's great.
Who saw that?
I don't know.
That book, let me tell you something. For years, you couldn't give that book away.
Yeah.
Could not give that book away.
Yep.
Nobody wanted Spider-Ham. All of a sudden, Alex, you want to laugh? So Peter Porker, not Parker.
Yep, of course.
The Spectacular Spider-Ham.
Yep.
Very clever. Came out in 1985.
Yep.
Okay. The pop is extremely low on this book.
Yeah.
And I think for the price that it is now, knowing that the next movie is going to come out in 2022, and to your point, stole the show.
100%, yeah.
There are 41 blue label 9.8s, only one yellow label 9.8. The book is $250 to $300.
Mm-hmm.
So not a bad buy. Interestingly enough, and I could kick myself now because I only recently learned this, there is a Canadian price variant on that book.
80s books, yeah.
There is only one 9.8 blue label. And it actually sold. Somebody sold it recently for $975.
Wow.
Right? Did they know? I wonder if they knew at the time it was a one of one. And Alex, 35 years later, you're going to go find another copy of a Canadian price variant?
No. And we've talked about this before. The Spider-Ham books were for kids. They were specifically targeted for children, lower than the average reading level of the Spider-Man books at that time. Is probably like 10 to 15, you know. These are for kids. Kids books, all the Star Label Marvel comic series in 9.8s are extremely hard to find because kids don't take care of books. They read them, they trash them, they share them, they trade them, they bring them outside, they leave them in their car. Like, that's why these books are even harder to find in higher grades, like a 9.8 blue label or signed.
Speak for yourself, Alex. What kind of kid were you, man? Jesus Christ, what were you doing?
I collected it. I still have everything. I still have everything I ever had, but I might have not treated it in the best shape than I do now.
Oh my goodness! You're trashing it. You're eating on it. You're rolling it up into tissue paper.
Back pocket.
All right. So now let's go on to the next character. She's extremely famous, Haley Steinfeld, who played the very, very popular SpiderGwen.
Hey guys. Wanda? It's Gwen, actually. All right, people. Let's start at the beginning one last time. My name is Gwen Stacy. I was bitten by a radioactive spider. And for the last 2 years, I've been the one and only Spider-Woman.
This book is like, forget about it. Now, there are a lot of versions to take in here. And it's not just she also is not just a popular character in the Sony film, but she's also a popular character in the comic book world universe.
Huge runaway hit. Yeah.
Yes. So you have this confluence of events, and you're going to be shocked at some of these numbers you're about to hear. Now, her first appearance was in Edge of Spider-Verse #2.
Mm-hmm. Jason Latour, Robbie Rodriguez. Yeah.
Wow, good memory, Alex. What year did that come out?
Robbie's also a friend of the show. He was in our Seattle show.
That's true. Hey, Alex, what year did that come out?
2014.
Wow, so it's only 6 years. It's only been 6 years.
Yeah.
For the price of this book after 6 years, you're going to be very, very impressed. Okay? So you have the Robbie Rodriguez regular version cover.
Mm-hmm.
There are 2,094 blue label 9.8s.
That's a lot.
There are 381 yellow label 9.8s. And that book is still selling for $550.
Wow. Nuts.
That's a lot of money for a book with that kind of pop report, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of population.
Wow. So then, now you're sitting down. There's a Greg Land variant cover.
Yes.
Really, really nice cover. That book has 261 9.8s with 95 yellow 9.8s. And that book is selling for $2,500, even with a pop of 261. Which shows you the popularity of that Spider-Gwen character. It's unbelievable.
It was, I mean, when it came out, when the Edge of the Spider-Verse miniseries came out and they were doing a new character, as soon as it hit the stands, it went crazy. People were buying multiple copies. They were like, oh my gosh, Marvel's always tinkered around with bringing people back from the dead. They brought Gwen Stacy back, and she had kids with Norman Osborn and the Spider-Man, right? Like, they've always brought back. This was like an extra oomph. Like, she was the Spider-Man. She was the Spider-Woman in her universe. Like, it was huge, and people ate it up.
Yes. So now let's move on to the next variant. So they did a second, a third, a fourth, and a fifth printing. This is where it gets interesting, because some of these print runs, They fluctuate wildly, and then getting the higher grades is also tricky. So my recommendation of all the SpiderGwens is the one I'm about to talk about, which is the second print. Okay? There are only 40 blue label 9.8s and 6 yellow label 9.8s. So it's a very low pop book. Very low pop. That book is selling for about $550 right now, which is not cheap, but there's only 40 of them in blue label.
Yeah, I think what happens a lot of times when you see second printings is a lot of shops, when they have to order second printings, they still have first printings on the shelf. So it's a very small window. So if you're a shop and you have 5 first printings on the shelf and you can order the second printings, you're like, I've only got 5 on the shelf. I'll order another 10. And by the time those come in, it's going to be 3-4 weeks before those come in. Those first printings are gone and people are clamoring for them. So the order number of a second print might not be as high as what they would have had if their first prints had already been sold out.
Right. And then the third print came out. There's 156 blue label 9.8s and 25 yellow label 9.8s, and those are only selling for $50.
Yeah.
So even though the pop is lower, to your point is they had a few left on the shelf. They ordered very few of the second prints. Sounds like the third print run got up higher, or for whatever reason, people are not as interested.
By that time, when stores are ordering after a second print, they know they know exactly how much. Oh, this book's hot. Let's order 50 more copies. Oh, this book's still fine. Let's order an extra 10 copies just to have them around if people are asking for it.
Right. And the fourth and fifth prints, there's 62 blue label, 28 yellow label on the fourth. There's 49 blue label and 7 yellow label on the fifth. Those are also selling for around $50.
Yeah.
I don't know how much upside those have, but I do think the second print is the one to look at.
Yeah.
There's also a couple of comic shop variants of this book. The Comic Bug did 2 versions. They did a regular version and they did a sketch edition. The regular version, there's 112 blue labels, 109 yellow labels. Those sell for around $100. There are 57 blue labels and 103 yellow labels of the sketch version, and those sell for around $200. What's interesting about the store copies, and you've done this at Midtown, is typically when a store orders their own exclusive, they're not handled, right? There's nobody packing and unpacking whatever. You're getting sealed cases.
Yep.
So the ability to get high grades is disproportionately high. There's no one picking and packing and shipping you a box, right? They're literally just shipping you sealed cases. You're going diving into the cases and you're pulling out. So I think that's why those books haven't seen the increase, simply because one retailer having those copies, being able to have a very high number of 9.8s, because again, they don't go out to newsstands, they don't get handled, they don't get touched, they don't get anything. Lastly, I have not been able to find any pricing information on this, but I did find that there was a Mexican edition listed, created of the book also. So fans out there, if you can find a copy of the Mexican edition, I don't know where you'll find one. Maybe try to find an ungraded raw one on eBay or something, but look out for a Mexican edition because they're very, very rare.
Maybe if you take a trip next year, if everything goes as planned and we have cons again, Mole Comic-Con, that would be the place to find it.
Good answer.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yes, fans out there, go to Mole.
If you want a copy, Stephen, by all means, you can send me down to Mole. I'll stay there for a week. I'll hang out, and I'll find you a copy. Easy peasy.
And you're going to be staying at Sandals, right? Like a nice resort?
Well, something easy. Just a single suite. I don't need a double suite.
The presidential suite?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. The next one on the list is Penny Parker.
My name is Penny Parker.
Yes.
Played by Kimiko Glenn. She first appeared in Edge of Spider-Verse number 5, which came out in December of 2014. So the Jack Wyatt first print cover, there are 207 blue labels with only 3 yellow labels. The Greg Land variant cover only has 67 blue labels with 11 yellow labels. And the second print Jack Wyatt cover is 5 blue labels and 0 yellow labels. Now, the Greg Land is the most expensive one, sells for around $100. But the other ones are really not that expensive. And, if she appears in the second movie, that one could continue to grow. And she has an interesting backstory about the creator, correct?
Yeah. Gerard Way, lead singer for My Chemical Romance, was a co-creator with Jack Wyatt. Those yellow labels, I 100% believe that they're mostly all Jack Wyatt's and not Gerard Way's, because he doesn't do conventions. He is grown in the comics industry since that book came out. I mean, he has his own imprint with DC, with Young Animals. He's been writing a lot of stuff. There's a little show on Netflix called Umbrella Academy. If anybody's heard of it, that's done really well. He created that show, co-created that. So I think definitely this is one of the books to grab and to get it and to get it sealed in a 9.8 CGC, or to buy a CGC now, because I have a feeling she will be in the second movie. You gotta ride that wave of his TV show doing really well. Him as a creator is doing really well. The movie will probably have Penny Parker back in it, because why not add some more flavor to your movie?
Absolutely. So the next character that I want to talk about is Peter Parker, the Spider-Man in that film.
Yes.
Played by Jake Johnson, who's also known from New Girl, very popular actor. So the first time we see sort of that version of Peter Parker meeting the Miles Morales is really in Spider-Man #1 from 2012. That's when Peter Parker meets meets Miles Morales. So that's actually like their first meeting. So even though obviously Peter Parker exists in the other MCU, this is a different version of that. And that to me really would be its first appearance.
Yeah.
There's a Mark Bagley cover with 73 blue labels and 12 yellow labels. It sells for about $100.
Yeah, that's not bad.
There's a comic shop. So there's a comic shop version, a convention version, an Humberto Ramos version, and a second print variant version, which all have 20 copies or under blue labels, all very, very rare. Interesting note on the Humberto Ramos cover art, which is phenomenal, by the way.
Killer.
Humberto's a dear friend. He's been coming to our shows for 20 years. We've known Humberto, and we've hosted him many, many times. And years ago, he said to me, Stephen, thank you for everything you've done for me. I really, really appreciate all the hard work you've put in, and you've helped me in my career. Is there something I could do for you? He said, I'd like to give you a piece of cover art. I said, wow, that's amazing. He said, so whenever you see whatever cover comes out next that you like, you call me, you let me know, and I will make sure that you can have that cover art. I said, great. This is 2012.
Oh, man.
So the solicitation comes out for Spider-Man #1. Now, remember, at the time, Miles Morales was not the character that he is today.
Right. He was popular, but he wasn't giant. Yeah.
100%. I don't know what I was thinking, but I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. There's 2 Spider-Mans on the cover. Like, I don't think I've ever seen that before. And I was right. I hadn't seen that before.
Right.
But I didn't even give it a second thought.
Yeah.
So I called his agent, Joe, who I've known for many, many years. I said, Joe, this is what I'm going to say. He said, oh, that's very nice of him. Let me call him and make sure. He said, no problem. They sent me the cover.
Oh, my God.
Sitting in my closet for years and years and years. And not too long after the movie came out, around the time the movie came out, Joe did call me and he said, Stephen, I have a great customer that really, really, really wants to buy it. Are you interested? I said, no, it's a gift from Humberto. I said, I'm not getting rid of that. I said, what are you, crazy? What are you, crazy? I'm not getting rid of that piece. So I actually own the Humberto Ramos cover, which was a gift from Humberto.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's a good story, right, Alex?
Piece. Yeah, that's awesome.
I think you're a little jealous over that.
A little bit.
I think you're a little bit. A little jealous. All right. Last but not least, Alex, is Spider-Man 2099, voiced by the great Poe Dameron.
That's it. Oscar.
Whoa.
What the?
I'm Spider-Man. I need you to come with me.
Who the heck are you?
I just told you that. Listen. I'm from the future.
Oscar. The great Oscar Isaac, who we all know as Poe Dameron in the new Star Wars trilogy. He actually voiced Spider-Man 2099, interestingly enough. So obviously, Spider-Man 2099 was a very popular title.
Yes.
His first appearance was in Amazing Spider-Man number 365, the hologram cover.
Yep.
They must have printed hundreds of thousands. I mean, thousands.
90s books.
Being in the
90s books.
Oh, my God.
Gotta love them.
You had a hologram on the cover. That was it. That's all you needed.
That's what's
hologram cover. That's it. So there's a lot of copies of that book.
Yeah.
But it's still a decent book. There's 695 blue labels, 95 yellow labels, and 9.8. Very, very, it's a good book. It's a solid book. I think it's fine. Again, they did print a lot of copies of the book. It'll set you back a couple $100. Not a big deal. So there's a Toy Biz second print variant that was packaged back with the toys.
Yes.
You can't find them.
No.
Don't exist. So fans out there, if you go looking at your old toy boxes or go digging through your old boxes, try to find a copy. It's got a white border on it.
Yep.
There's only 18 blue labels, Alex, and 7 yellow labels.
Yeah, that's
That book,
impossible.
Impossible. The last one that sold for $750. Cannot find that book.
That's crazy.
And lastly, the rarest of the rare, although I do think the Toy Biz one is pretty cool, is there's an Australian priced version of that book too. I don't know where you'd find. I mean, you got to go call your friends from down under.
Yeah.
There's only been one graded copy. Did not grade a 9.8. So there is a price variant on that. I do think the Toy Biz one, because it's more mainstream, it is a version of that one. It's considered a second print. CGC considers it a second print because it came out after the fact.
Right.
But I think that if you're going to track down one copy, I think that's the book to track down.
And I think I'm not going to say it's easy to find that book because it's not. They came with toys. Toys get opened by kids who destroy everything because they play with it. But
you destroyed everything, not me.
That's it. Maybe. But I mean, that's one of those books that, it came in a toy, and the toy came out in the late 90s, early 2000s. There might be sealed toys around that you could find a copy. And if the collector kept the toy in good shape, I don't know how much the toy's worth, but you might be able to open it and pull that out and get it done. There is hope at the end of the tunnel for finding a copy of that raw in the wild.
But of course, you won't have a copy because you destroyed.
I opened everything and I play with everything.
You opened everything and play with it, so it's all ruined.
It's all ruined. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, Alex, I think that's all we have for today.
I think so. I think we covered a lot, and I think we got it done.
I think we got the SpiderVerse covered. I think everybody understands all the variations now that they should be on the lookout for.
That's it. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks, Stephen. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, fans out there, for listening, and we'll see you next week.
See you again.